just start by saying thank you so much for taking a little time of your day to join me and do this. So for people that are watching this video, I first met Dave, I think it was in high school. You can correct me if I'm wrong and correct my story, but in high school, maybe it was in the jazz band, I think it was. And Dave was, I think, 1 year behind me in high school. But just a killer guitarist. And I noticed right away that he was able to kind of sight read music and had a lot of technical skill along with feel and tone and all the things that really matter to me now as a music producer. And so, even early on, I definitely noticed those things in your playing. And one of the things that I first remembered about you playing guitar was the song that we did in jazz band. It had all these double stops on the guitar and a lot of finger picking and things. And it just seemed like super complex. And you took it on like a champ and it made it sound great. I doubt you remember that, but I certainly do.
I actually remember exactly. I wish I remember the song because I remember it exactly because I got the music and I was like, I looked at it and I knew immediately I've never played this before, something like this before. And I even told, I kind of raised my hand. I was like, I'm going to have to go home and learn this. Like, I'm not going to be able to play this today. But I did, and it was fun.
But just all those things are part of my memories of first getting to know you and learning about you as a musician. And then obviously, we played in a couple of fun projects together over the years. We've been in the studio to record some music together. And nowadays, we're producing and recording a few random songs here and there just for the fun of it. And it's just been so super cool. But one of the reasons that I invited you here today is because I've created a video series all about songwriting. And one of the things I've always known about you is that is a huge strength of yours. You've got a real knack and skill for songwriting and just understanding the craft. And it just seems like something that you've focused on for a long time and really built up a lot of knowledge and skill for how to put a song together in a unique way. On the one hand, I feel like you understand song structures, but on the other hand, you seem to know how to put your own twist on things and make them uniquely you. So if I listen to one of your songs, and by the way, I'll publish links to your music in the comments and details here so that people can check it out. And I definitely would recommend it. I have a couple of favorites, but Dave, if you have a new one coming out soon, we can also post a link to that. But all that to say, you're an incredible songwriter. And so I wanted to kind of pick your brain about that subject for this video series. And I think that, not just that I'll learn a lot from you, but I think a lot of people have a lot that they can learn from you. So, with that, thanks again for being here. And I wanted to kind of start off just by learning more about how you started in music. How did you get introduced to music, and what was your first instrument, and kind of when did you learn that you wanted to be a musician?
Yeah, I started super young. I believe it was kindergarten. They had a ukulele class for whoever just wanted to take it. So I got in the ukulele class and just loved it immediately. And my mom had a guitar lying around the house. So the next year I switched to guitar and just got some basic guitar lessons. So, by the time I was 5, I was, playing in the talent show at the elementary school. So very early it started like that and just sort of kept playing guitar all the way through elementary school, just learning the basic stuff. And then when I got to middle school is when jazz band became a thing. So that's when I got an electric guitar and, started learning to play a little bit more, got hooked up with a different teacher who could teach me, basically that's when I started playing just bar chords and then learn all the other stuff that you learn. So yeah, I went from a little kid playing guitar to doing the jazz band thing. And then in high school is when I met you and a bunch of other musicians. And that's around the time I started writing songs. By the end of high school, I had enough songs. I was recording my own records and started playing like open mics and stuff. And then right after high school is when I pretty much started performing full time. So, yeah, it's been a long time. However long it's been since I was 4. It's a while.
Man, wow. I didn't know you started that young. So your mom got you into music, and it sounds like your first guitar was actually a ukulele.
Yeah, I guess so. Like I wouldn't have even remembered that. Like that's what my parents tell me. Yeah. Like both my parents were somewhat musical. Like they didn't play a lot, but like my dad's a saxophone player. My mom had a guitar. We had a piano in the house. So I mean they were very supportive right away. Like, yeah, let's do some music.
That is super cool. Do you still have a now? Is it pronounced ukulele or ukulele, or how do you pronounce it?
Do that. You say it like that and we'll go with that.
I don't know. I'm asking because I'm not an expert.
I say ukulele, but I like, yeah, some people really want you to say it more correctly than that, but I will not.
I'm only saying I've been scolded in the past. So,
You're not going to get scolded by me for your pronunciation of ukulele.
okay. And then your first electric guitar, I'm guessing, was it a Fender or what was it?
I was trying to remember that. It was a red guitar, and you were there the day it got stolen. I don't know if you remember that. It got stolen the day of a jazz band concert in high school. And so
I do actually remember that now that you bring it up.
Yeah, it got stolen, and I've never saw it again. I think it was a Fender. It was either a Fender or an Ibanez, and I got it in either sixth or seventh grade. And that was so. Yeah, I went from my mom's acoustic to that until someone stole it from the old jazz band locker room the day of a concert, and yeah, not ideal.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What was that your last electric guitar, or do you have others?
No, so after that, so I was still pretty heavy into the jazz band stuff. So after that, I got a 1969 Gibson hollow body, like a very jazzy jazz guitar. So that's what I played the last few years of high school. Before.
You're gonna have to send me a picture of that one.
It's currently being used regularly in a studio in Los Angeles. It's on all kinds of records now. So I haven't played it in a few years.
I have to take a brief interlude and ask you, how did that happen? Like why your guitar is in the possession of a studio?
Yeah, so as we get through my life story, most of my studio recordings were done with a guy named Rob Seals, who started in North Carolina and then opened a studio in Los Angeles. So I went and recorded some records with him. And I just never used the guitar at all. And he was like, this is great. I can use this. So it's just there. But I mean, if I need it back, I can get it back. But it's being used rather than just sitting in my basement.
Wow. Okay. And then in high school, jazz bands, guitar got stolen, and then into adulthood, and you started kind of taking that as your career path, right?
Yeah. So I went to college for 1 year. I went to the University of Denver and majored in music. But at that time, you could either major in jazz or classical. Like nowadays, there's commercial music programs all over the place. It's a kind of a different world. But back then, like I knew already what I wanted to do, like the folk singer songwriter thing. Like I wanted to tour and record and write my own music and play it. And that's not really what at that time a music program was for. So I went for a year and it was helpful. I mean, I learned a lot more music theory, picked up a little extra piano there. I mean, I certainly got some stuff from it, but at that point I knew what I wanted to do and how to do it. So after 1 year of college is when I went full-time music.
Yeah. You figured out really early on that folk was the path. Like you're the master of folk, and you have been for your entire career as far as I'm concerned.
I can name a couple of people who are more masters of folk than me, but I appreciate that.
Well, hey man, but this is all about you, so I'm going to bring it back and try to make you
let's call James Taylor real quick and be Dave Potts, the master of folk, said we should ask you about this.
Well, I do want to ask you, since you brought up James Taylor, who are the influences that you have, and especially those that influence your songwriting?
Yeah. So what's interesting, I always say James Taylor because other people always say James Taylor. James Taylor is actually not really a songwriting influence at all. I didn't listen to James Taylor much at all until I was in my 20s. I was fully raised on John Denver. Like my mom was a huge John Denver fan. We would go to see him at Red Rocks every year. When I started learning to play guitar, it was just John Denver music. Like my first teacher just took me all the way through the John Denver songbook, and that's how I learned to play guitar. And when I was 4 or 5, I played at the talent show. I played Grandma's Featherbed. That was my first public performance. So John Denver was my first influence. And it wasn't until much later that I started listening to the other things that people assume are my influences, like James Taylor and Dan Fogelberg and Gordon Lightfoot, that 70s folk stuff. Because that is sort of the vein in which my stuff sounds. But really, John Denver's the only one that I actually listened to growing up.
So learning all those songs, I mean, how much of that carries through in your music today, the songs that you write?
Well, you can hear a lot of it in my early songwriting for sure. But even now, like if you're paying attention to it, you can be like, yeah, it's a little John Denver going on there. Yeah, and then around the time I started writing songs, I started finding other like folk singer songwriters, as well as listening to country music. Even though there's nothing really country about me, I learned a lot about the structure of songwriting from the Nashville songwriters. Figure out how to really make a story song work and song structure and all that. But so yeah, basically it was John Denver, and then like 90s country and folk singer songwriters from the kind of the independent scene that most people had never heard of, but were influences.
But you mentioned the Nashville scene, and I'm kind of interested in that because to me that's a whole distinct sound almost. It's like it's such a one of a kind kind of a music vibe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so the way I look at it is that is not the music that I write, and only sometimes is the music that I like. But if you're a songwriter, you can learn a ton from it. Like a lot of the best songwriters in the world write that Nashville country music. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But just as far as the ins and outs of how to write songs, structurally, story-wise, melody, like that's where you learn how to do it if you want to.
Do you remember the first song that you ever wrote?
I do. I actually tried to find it. I have it somewhere, but I didn't. Basically, the first like 4 or 5 songs I wrote were just, they were me trying to sound like a 90s country song. And I would have been 10th grade. So like 15 years old. And they were very like sad, depressing love songs with a very straight, verse, chorus, Nashville. If Nashville was a kid who learned to play John Denver songs. The first song was called Hurt So Bad. And that it was as goofy as it sounds. And I know for sure my first 4 songs were all D, G, A, B minor. This as straight obvious chord progression as you could get, but it was like it wasn't so much I just had this inspiration fall out of the sky and I started writing and I didn't know what I was doing. It was like I did know what I was doing. I sat down with like a notebook and was like, today I'm going to write a song, and this is how I know that you write a song. And so I wrote it like that.
Well, now I know that you sing. I know you play guitar. I know that you, at least at one point, played the ukulele. Are there other instruments that you were exposed to or that you've learned how to play?
I mean, I can fake the bass. Any guitar player knows the notes of the bass. So like a real simple bass part I can do, and a little bit of piano. Like I said, we had a piano in the house growing up. I mean, I didn't play a lot, but would hit it every once in a while. And then in the 1 year of college, you did have to take a piano class, so I learned the basics. And about 6 months ago, I started playing drums.
Really?
Now I'm officially a drummer.
Oh man, I can't wait for that.
Yeah. Oh, you can wait, but I'm having a blast.
Well, I'm going to be super curious how that impacts you as a songwriter, though, because I've learned from all the different musicians that I talk to that whenever you adopt and learn a new instrument, it impacts your kind of perception of what possibilities are, or maybe it skews. Like maybe you're going to start approaching songs from the point of view of a drummer, and then I don't know, maybe they're going to have different rhythmic elements that you hadn't considered before or something.
Yeah, it's very interesting to be learning a new instrument. It's fun to, you know, remember what it's like to hear something that sounds like it's easy, but then when you play it, anyone who's learned any instrument knows that. Like, you learn, even on guitar, like, you learn these 3 or 4 chords, and you think, okay, I can play these, but then you start playing them in a song and it changes on the end of three, and you're like, oh, that's not an easy chord anymore, even though it's a G. And it's kind of like the same thing on the drums. You know, you learn, okay, I can play this beat, but then, and I can play this fill. But if you move that fill a half a beat later, I can't play it anymore. And so just that whole learning process is a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know what it'll do songwriting wise. I really have always kind of thought a lot about drums and percussion in my songwriting, just partly because all the people I've played with my whole life have been drummers. The the 3 people I played music with the most early in my life are you and Shane and Ryan, the 3 drummers in jazz band. Like, that's, so I have always played with a drummer since I've been a songwriter.
Well, I mean, drums are easy. You'll get it in no time.
Yeah, I can count to 4. I can do it.
Can I ask, did you decide to learn drums for the pursuit of songwriting, or was there a different reason for it?
No, there's an interesting reason, actually. So when I'm not playing music, I took a long time off from performing and really writing, but I was teaching at a music store here, and I would teach songwriting classes. And then I started coaching bands, started with kids bands. And I started coaching an adult band with like people from like 40 up to like 80 who are either have never played in a band before, or maybe did a long time ago. So I coached this band, and the next time the band started, nobody signed up to play drums. So I sat in at the store just on the kit there so they could rehearse with a drummer. And I just liked it. I was like, this is fun. So I played with them at their gig, and I was like, I'm gonna get a drum set. It was just fun. So that's how it started. Is my band needed a drummer.
When will we hear your first drum recording?
It'll be a while. I'll send you a little clip of me playing at the gig. I've played the one gig so far, but I actually put a microphone on in between my hi-hat and snare the other day just to see what it sounded like. It doesn't sound great or totally on tempo, but it's there.
It's probably going to sound a lot like a hi-hat.
It does a little bit, yeah.
That's so cool. I kind of want to understand a little bit more about your process when it comes to songwriting. And I'm kind of curious, like, do you have any sort of habits that help you get into a creative flow, or how do you overcome, I don't know what the songwriter's equivalent to writer's block is, but how do you get those creative moments and then translate those into music? And I'm also kind of curious when it comes to songwriting, what is your approach? Do you start with your guitar? Do you create a basic chord structure? Or do you think more about melodies and vocal parts, or is it more lyrics? Kind of curious on all those things and how you approach songwriting with those elements.
Yeah, I kind of can answer 2 of those questions together. The what the process is creatively to how I start a song is usually the same thing. Like 90% of my songs start with the germ of an idea, which is like one line of either a story idea or like a chorus idea, like a hook. And those usually come either from not trying to think about songs, just paying attention to the world around you. And like everything's a song if you're looking at it from that perspective. But really, in the old days, when I used to write a ton of songs, was when I was on the road all the time. So I was in the car for 8 hours a day with nothing to do. And nothing is better than time for songwriting, just time, and just sit there and think. But now, like, I don't have 8 hours in the car every day, which is okay with me. So I just go for a walk, just simply walking around the block. Something will pop in my head. Usually it's like one line, and that's how most songs of mine start. I get one line, and I kind of know what the feel of it is, and then I'll put that one line to music and go from there. Sometimes, though, I will get, rather than like a line or the title of the song, I'll get a story idea that I have, like an outline for a story. I know what verse 1 is, I know what verse 2 is, I know where it's going, what the twist and the bridge is, and then I got to figure out how to get it there. So those are kind of the two ways they come. Um,
Sounds like you kind of have an idea for different ways that songs can be structured, and then as you're getting those bits of inspiration, maybe it's a little easier for you at that point to see how it might all work. Like
yeah, if you just get one little part of it, just get something down and going. Like, and that's part of the writer's block question. Like, just what I say to when I teach kids songwriting, what I say is there's never such a thing as writer's block if you are willing to write a truly terrible song. You can write something if it doesn't have to be good. You don't ever have to play it for anybody. Like, there's no rule that every song you write you have to play or that you have to finish. So if you're willing to just write anything just to do it, you will never have writer's block. You will write a bunch of stuff that you're never going to play outside of your basement, but you're still getting that process going. And the vast majority of the time, somewhere in that process, maybe you're just writing some goofy song just to do it, something clicks. There's one line that's like, oh, actually, that's actually a real line. I could use that. I did a example of that this last week. I teach at a summer camp here, and I teach groups of kids how to write songs. And I write a goofy example of a song just in like 5 minutes to show them the process of writing a song. And it's usually a silly song. So this week we wrote a song called Road Construction because there was road construction outside the place where the camp was. So I did this in the morning session. I did this goofy song called Road Construction. I came back in the afternoon to another group and I said, we wrote this song called Road Construction. And I was thinking, let's just write another song about road construction. But that song made me think, what's really the problem with road construction is that I can't get through to where I'm going. And then I took that line, can't get through, and I realized that's actually a real song. So then I wrote a song called Can't Get Through to You, which is a song about a relationship we're having trouble communicating. And it all of a sudden became a very real song from a completely goofy idea of just, hey, we need to write something so I can show you how to write a song. So road construction. 4 hours later, it became a real song. And that kind of thing happens all the time.
I feel like that's some of the best advice I think that I've heard when it comes to songwriting is when you said, you don't have to write a great song every time. You don't have to publish every song. Sometimes I wonder if you intentionally try to make something, like you say, make something goofy. I know you were at a camp and you were with kids, and so it's a little bit of a different vibe, but maybe sometimes as songwriters we put a little bit too much pressure on ourselves, and that can lead to a bad outcome, right?
When every song is supposed to be amazing, and like as soon as you start writing a song, you're thinking about, oh, and then I could produce it like this, and then I'm going to put it out to the world, and then I'm going to sell copies. Like, just write a song, like not every song is going to be great, and not every song needs to end up on the radio. Like you're just it's kind of like working. You're just working the muscles, and some days you just got to write something menace, and you start over the next day.
I love that advice. And then you said something also. You mentioned the word hook, and it's something I'm curious about and what that means to you. I hear the word hook a lot, and I know I've heard of a vocal hook. I've heard of a chorus hook. Just wondering what that is exactly.
Well, it's sort of a different thing depending on what genre of music you're talking about. But essentially, any song in any genre needs something that the first time a listener hears it, they latch onto it and want to hear it again. That's what a hook is something that makes the song memorable and makes you want to hear it again. It's easy to think about with like pop music. Like the melody line of a chorus is very clearly a hook, and it gets repeated 5 times, and like that's obvious. And it's usually pretty obvious in country music. It's the first line of the chorus is also the title of the song, and they repeat it 5 times. And that's a hook. In rock music, sometimes the hook is a lead guitar part that kicks off a song. And it's much more subtle in the folky stuff that I do, because I don't have a big soaring pop melody. And I don't have usually a catchy electric guitar intro, but I want to put something somewhere in the song that the first time someone hears it, they they kind of latch onto it and can remember it and want to hear it again. So that's what I mean by a hook.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but in any music that you think people may be familiar with that may be watching this, can you think of a song that has a real strong hook that you can that maybe we can relate to?
Yeah, I mean, so the simplest one, like the simpler the better in camp for the kids. I always start by playing "Free Fallin'" by Tom Petty. You want to talk about a hook? It's remarkable. I play 2 seconds from the intro of the song, that first opening guitar, D to D suspended, and I pause it. On a group of like 8-year-olds, every single one of them knows the song. Just pause right there and think about how remarkable that is. 40 years ago, a dude wrote a D and a D suspended, And now, even now, an 8-year-old hears that one chord change and knows what song it is. That's remarkable.
Okay.
But as far as the hook, if you listen to that song, I'm just going to give you my whole songwriting class in 1 minute here. Listen to that song in the verse. He's simply telling a story, point A to point B, with a bunch of details, a bunch of words, a bunch of interesting descriptive words. And then all of a sudden, when the chorus comes, it's 2 words. The melody goes up. He holds the words out. Now I'm free falling. Like, he's just come from this whole, minute of just storytelling with detail, singing down at a lower melody. Then all of a sudden the melody jumps up and it's 2 words held out and repeated. The first time you hear that, immediately, whether you understand music or not, like, everything is different now. Everything just changed. And I want to hear that again. Like, I think that's the perfect example of a hook.
That is such a good example. Yeah, like even when you just brought those first 2 chords in the progression to my mind, the vocal part instantly came into my brain, and I know exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah. And it's remarkable, really, when you think about it, like how, and there's so many songs like that 40, 50, 60 years ago, someone wrote, and like everyone in the world knows it still because of that hook, and the hook is why.
So before I drop this subject of vocal hooks and hooks in songwriting, would you say that you try to incorporate a hook into the songs that you write? And is it because you want the song to be more memorable and relatable to an audience, or is it because it's more enjoyable for you to play and listen to?
It's both. Essentially, the reason I do it is there's kind of 2 audiences. There's with my style of music, there's a very core folk audience that likes this style of music and wants to hear the story and wants to hear the background of the story, and will sit and listen to me play a 5-minute song with no hook and just be all in. Like, that audience is there, but that's not most of the people in the world. Like, I want to put something in a song that you don't have to be a super hardcore folk listening room fan to enjoy the song. And if I don't get some kind of hook in there, the vast majority of people in the world are simply not going to like my song. I'm not trying to make everybody like it. Nothing's for everybody. But I want to make something that you don't have to be just all in on folk singer-songwriters to get something out of it.
Yeah, and like if somebody comes to see you for the first time at a live show and you play something and then they're walking back to their car afterwards and that maybe that little hook is stuck in their brain, then I guess mission accomplished, right?
Yeah, I mean, that really is the goal. You want them, if they come see you for the first time and then 3 days later they're walking around and one of your songs is in the back of their head, and then they're going to want to go listen to it again. Like, that's what a hook is. And it doesn't have to be the classic soaring pop melody hook. It can be, but anything that's going to kind of catch their ear a little bit more.
I've learned a couple of key things from you at this point that I hadn't thought of before. One thing is I've learned a bit about hooks, and one thing is I've learned that every song doesn't have to be a top 40 hit. In fact, you can even write a song that no one's going to ever listen to and just be silly with it. And it's really all about the creative process sometimes, and like just have fun with it sometimes, right?
Yeah, I think that's super important. I mean, if you compare songwriting to like any other craft in the world, like it's just like practice. Like when you see whatever Roger Federer go out and win the U.S. Open, like he actually practiced a long time, not in front of all those people, to do that. And a lot of times he missed some of those backhands, so he'd get to the point where he never missed one. You're going to practice whatever it is you do. I'm certain that painters don't sell every painting they make. Sometimes they draw something and they're like, well, that's no good. I don't know. I'm making that up, but I bet that's the case.
In terms of the bigger picture of songwriting, would you say that you have, and this is a question I ask everybody, but would you say that you have a kind of a philosophy about songwriting, or do you have rules for yourself?
I definitely don't have rules. There were different times in my career when I probably did, but like I always want to be open to just whatever happens. So definitely no on the rules. The philosophy of songwriting, that's a pretty intense way to say it, but so kind of, I taught this little class that we had to give a title, and I called it "The World Doesn't Need Your Song, Doesn't Need Another Song. The World Needs Your Song." And I think that's a pretty good philosophy. Like there are plenty of songs. Like you don't need to just copy songs and just like write another song for the sake of a song that sounds like another song. Like, especially now, like there's a gazillion songs and they're almost all good. What there's not is your personal point of view, your emotion, your story, whether it's made up or true, like whatever it is that you have to say. When I say your story, sometimes you make up stories, sometimes they're true stories, but putting your perspective out, that's the only thing that no one else can do. No matter how great you are musically, like someone else is better than you. It's not like you're going to come up with this chord progression that no one else could do. But no one else has quite your perspective on the world or on a topic, on whatever you're writing about. So that's the thing you need in your song. You need you in your song.
I guess that's one of the reasons why I don't worry too much about AI. What you just said kind of sums up why we don't really have to worry about that, because the individual really comes through in every song, right?
Yeah, and that's as far as like very cleanly structured songs, like the most basic Nashville country song, the most basic pop song, AI can already do that 100%. Not that people can't do it better, but AI can write a song right now that's good enough to be the number one song in the world, like for sure, in just straight up pop music. But in whatever your genre is, like you do have a perspective that you can put out there that only you can put out there. So yeah, do that.
That's kind of scary and intriguing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of torn on that. Like, I think AI can and already does and will write songs that are great, that I will listen to and enjoy. And that doesn't bother me, honestly. But there's certain songs, certain types of songs, certainly certain genres, and obviously if you see it live, but there are certain things that only a person can do with their own input on a song. I'm not fully anti AI, but that is even more why, like, I think that philosophy of like you got to put you in the song, like. Even less so than ever, you do not need to write a song just to have a song. Like you can write 50 songs in the next 20 minutes if you just push a couple buttons. You don't need to just write a song. You really need, your song is the only thing that can be unique now if it has you in it.
I appreciate that you're open-minded about things like AI, because honestly, introspectively, I can say I've been a little closed-minded on it and a little bit like
Kevin. I'm just saying it because AI is listening. They're gonna be like, that guy Dave is on our side.
Man, look how smart you are.
They're gonna come for you first because I just said I'm on board. I'm good.
I think if this interview cuts out in a minute, we're gonna know why.
It'll just be me on here soon.
Oh man. All right. Well, I want to get current now. I've asked you all about the past, but I kind of want to know, like these days, who are some of your influences right now? Have they changed since those early days? And I also want to kind of know what are some of the things that keep you going. What are the things that really feel rewarding to you about this?
As far as influences, really, I listen to a lot of the same stuff as I always have, but really more so, I try to listen to a wide variety of stuff and not have like the one or two influences. Like during early parts of my career, it was very much like during this part, I was trying to sound like this person. I was trying to sound like this person. I was very focused, and that was needed at the time. Like it helped me grow as a songwriter, figure out what I was doing. But now I do go out of my way to listen to both a lot of different kinds of stuff, and even honestly stuff that I don't like or want to play like. Like when it's something I've gotten out of working with a lot of the kids at this place I teach. Like if there's something that everyone's listening to, I want to listen to it. Even if I don't like it, like there's a reason why everyone likes that, even if I don't like it. And I want to figure out what it is. Maybe that influences my writing. Maybe it doesn't. But so I listen to, like now I listen to a lot of pop music. I listen to more like old country that I don't like. Like I don't like Hank Williams, but there's something to learn. I listen, and when I say I listen to pop music, like there's something in every style of music you can learn from. So I'm listening to the melodies. Like I'm not really listening to lyrical structure usually, but there's something in a melody that I can learn from. Or I'll listen to rock music that I don't like heavier rock than I enjoy. But there's something about the musical hooks they create that I can learn from. So really less than it's not so much I have like, this is my influence right now. It's that I'm intentionally spreading out and listening to different stuff.
So sometimes you're listening to music from the point of view of a student. And sometimes you might be listening to music from the point of view of you just want to enjoy something that you enjoy.
Yeah. I think you can really learn a lot. And I recommend this to everyone. Like listen to the stuff that other people love that you don't love and figure out why they love it. It doesn't have to make you like it, but like there's a reason why everyone else likes it. Like, and figure out what that is. And usually it's something that you can put your own twist on.
That's like, I think the third super profound thing that I've learned here already. A lot of the suggestions that you're making kind of contradicts what to me seems like common sense or like what I normally do every day. And it's so eye-opening. That's a pretty cool idea. Well, I have to ask, let's say that there's somebody who's watching this interview right now who's just getting into songwriting, brand new songwriter. And what would you say, like what advice would you have for that person as far as a couple of things they should consider doing or anything about their approach, whatever advice you might have? I'd love to learn what it is.
I mean, when you're brand new, like never written a song before or written one song, like I really do think you still need to start with the basics. Like that's the point at which I do think you sort of copy a style that you're in. If you're a country writer, you learn that Nashville style and you write a few songs, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus, with the first line of the chorus is the title of the song and you repeat it at the end. Like just get that structure and write it a bunch so that you can do it. And then you'll start to stray from that. But like, if you've never written anything before and I've seen this a lot and you sit down with this, like, I'm going to be unique and different. And I'm not going to write a country song or a pop song or a rock song. I'm going to be me. And it's just this meandering thing that nobody wants to hear. And you can still do that because you can still learn, you'll still get the process, certainly of like lyric writing. But I would rather go the other way, like learn the structure and then you'll start to put your own spin on it and decide, okay, every song I just did was a 4-line verse and a 2-line pre-chorus and a 4-line chorus. But I want to tell more of a story. So I'm going to write an 8-line verse and no pre-chorus. And my chorus isn't going to be as obvious as this country song. The title of my song is not going to be the first line of my chorus. I'm going to change it. To start changing things up. And once you get into that flow, then you can go wherever you want to go. But you need some sort of baseline of like, really, how do you write a song?
So, and it sounds like you teach kids in different ways, maybe at camps or individual lessons and things like that. But I think I heard you say that you even participate in a songwriting class of some sort for kids. And so maybe there's all kinds of opportunities like that out there that people aren't even aware of, you know?
Yeah, there are. If you want to, like, a lot of people do songwriting seminars, even online, that you can find, where you will learn all the basics, the structures, how to start. And I do think that's pretty important. Every once in a while, someone might just have the magical gift that they can just sit down and not think anything about any song and just start noodling around, and it's amazing. And if that's you, you should do that, and that's fantastic. But most people that I've run across, certainly myself, like, you need to start with some sort of plan and structure and follow that and get that's how you'll get to the point where you can start to create your own unique sound. And you'll find pretty quickly what your thing is. Like, you might think, I'm going to write country songs, but you start writing, and it turns out you're actually writing rock songs, or I don't know, different things. But you need some kind of structure when you're starting out, I think.
So I have to do this before we wrap up, but I'd like to give you an opportunity for a shameless plug or two, if you have any new music coming out, or, you know, if you're doing, are you doing sort of online lessons, or what are you up to that people need to know about?
I've just started recording my own stuff. Like, I used to go to a studio and record records, and nowadays you don't really need a record anymore. I don't even know what that means. So I'm starting to record my own stuff. I've put out a couple songs. I've got a couple more coming out within the next few months. But if you want to listen to something, go listen to the song I just put out called "And Beautiful," which is a song I wrote 15 years ago for my daughter when she was growing up. And at the end of the song, she graduates from college. And in real life now, she just graduated from college. So I re-released the song, changed a couple lines, and recorded that and put that out. And that's the perfect example of put your own perspective. Like, that's very real life, some details in that you couldn't just make up. And no one else would write exactly that song. A bunch of people could write the same structure of a song. Like, everyone's been through that experience, or everyone with a child who's graduated college. But if you put your own spin on it, I think that song is a good example of just putting your truth into the world, and somebody somewhere is going to want to hear it.
Well, I can say, I'll put that in the description so that people can check it out. And I've heard that song a few times. It's a good one, so highly recommend it. And I hope a lot of people check it out. Well, Dave, thank you. I guess on that note, we'll wrap it up. But thank you so much for doing this with me. And I can't wait till people can hear this and respond. And I would encourage people to, like, leave in the comments if you learned something kind of cool from Dave, or if you have some other ideas that we may have missed today about songwriting. I'd love to hear that too. And we'll kind of keep learning from each other. So, Dave, thank you so much. It's been great to talk to you today.
Thank you. This has been fun. It's always good to see you.
Okay. Well, take care, and I'll talk to you soon.